He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in LA, here are Dan Leonard and George Whittam.
Good evening, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. God, what a week! It's impossible to describe what has been going on this week, at least in my life and professionally. And if you've been following the blogs at all, or the forums, you probably see some of the garbage that's going on. But I want to stay away from the past, and I want to talk about the future. We'll talk about the future. Yeah, we're going to talk about the future, hopefully, tonight. And we've got a great guest tonight. We've got Hillary Huber, somebody we all know, somebody we all met probably one time or another at some conference or something. But she's a wonderful lady, and she's going to tell us about her career and some of the stuff she does and how she does it. Because we all know. I know.
She is a machine. She's just an audiobook monster, but she doesn't just do audiobooks. She's not a one-trick pony either. She's done live announce and all kinds of stuff. I have a little bio I'll talk about later, but
great.
She's great. She's awesome.
Yeah. Now I also hear we've got some other great special guests lined up for the show, do we not?
We do. We've got some great ones in the works. The one that I'm most excited about is June Foray.
Ooh.
So I through some great connections we've made over the years, I said, do you think we could get her? And actually Rachel Ehrenberg, who's a very good friend and protege of June's, said, yeah, absolutely. She would. I think she'd love to do it, but I'll let you know. So we're waiting on the green light from June. So maybe it's a little soon to say, but I'm pretty sure she'll be on the show. Yeah, we're looking at doing it on Mother's Day. So
that would be great.
Yeah, so we'll see. But we're really excited about that one. We've also got Bill Ratner coming. I got a yes from Rolanda Watts.
All right,
so that's kind of cool.
All right,
we'll see what happens. We've got some really exciting guests that are lining up. So I'm really, really happy about that.
I'm really excited about it. We're having a great time doing the show every week, and we're glad that you're here this week, as we are every week. This is how we do it every week. We're not quite sure, but somehow you turn on your computer at 9 o'clock in the East and 6 o'clock in the West, and there we are.
And there we are. Most of the time.
That's right. And it's all because of you.
Which way do I look at it? Oh, yeah. Thanks,
that's right. No, look to your shelf.
The thing that's weird is I have to look left, which is right. Totally backwards. So confusing.
Yeah. I mean, but heck, we could fool people and say, we're just right here where we are. I could just reach over and grab you. And,
One of these days, we'll get the effects together from Digital Domain. Did you see that thing did you catch any of the live YouTube streaming from Coachella? I
did not.
Well, there was like a big buzz about this, but I mean, they basically did a digital recreation. A recreation of Tupac Shakur, the deceased rapper. Mm-hmm. They did a Pepper's Ghost effect where they project him onto the back of a ginormous piece of mylar that stretched across the stage.
Right.
And so not only did they project this thing on stage, life size and photorealistic graphics, but they had him come out on stage and say, "What the F up, Coachella?" And it was his voice. I mean, it was out there. It was a digital domain effects, project that I think Dr. Dre footed the bill for, or at least, it was like a $400,000 effect for one show. But it was mind-blowing. I mean, creepy describes it.
I'll bet. Boy, I'm sorry I missed that because we all know how much I really love rap music.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the thing is you can just go to YouTube and find it and just put it on mute if you want. But at least to see that effect with the interaction was absolutely amazing.
All right. Well, let's see. You've got some interesting stuff to talk about. I think we can probably both talk about it as we've been discussing it this week. And as I said, I've got some thoughts on our voiceover community that I want to get across. We've got Hillary Huber. Hopefully, if we can dig around, we'll probably find some pictures of somebody's studio somewhere and discuss that.
I got some lined up.
Yeah. Now, another thing we were talking about is, when we started off the show a year ago, more than a year ago, can you believe we've been doing this over a year?
No. Episode 45 today.
Episode 45. We used to get calls in from people who would have studio problems, because that was the initial thought we had was, well, we'll just make it sort of like a car information show. Well, you got to change your alternator there. But what we decided to do is you guys really just wanted to hear us talk. Don't ask me why. I'm not exactly sure. It's like, what are you, nuts? But we'd like to get more studio problems in here. So I think what we're going to do from now on is we want to have the studio problem of the week. So if you got a good studio problem, or you think you can stump these guys, you and him, then send it in to ewabshop@gmail.com. And what's the phone number if they want to call in and talk to us?
Oh, it is 818-973-2773.
Okay.
Boy, I hope that's it. It's been a long time since I've read that number out on the air.
Some pizza joint in Portland is going to start getting calls about that.
It's 818-47. Actually, it's 473. Sorry, 818-47 EWABS.
Yeah. Notice that I have this slow frame rate tonight. We're not exactly sure what it is.
I call it the glitch of the week.
The glitch of the week.
Yeah, it's the glitch of the week.
And then what's going to happen? It's just going to suddenly disappear like that.
I hope so.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving like this.
The thing is that, Dan, you're perfectly fluid on my end, but once it gets screen captured, spit back out through Ustream, that's when it, I don't know. Like I said, it's the glitch of the week. It's like a moving target.
All right.
It's like a dam. You patch this hole and it stops leaking, and no one starts leaking over here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the meat of the matter. You had something you wanted to talk about tonight that I think we both have an interest in. So
yeah, totally.
Take it away.
Well, to tube or not to tube. Basically, tube electronics have had a huge renaissance in the last 10, 15 years. The whole mystique of having a vacuum tube inside your guitar amp or inside your mic preamp has never been more popularized and promoted. And it really helps companies like, Eureka, Personas that makes the Eureka, and other companies like that market their product, because if you put a tube in it, it must be better. And, I got to tell you, unless you are dropping some serious dough on a preamp that's a tube-based preamp, and I'm talking $2,000 plus, generally they are junky pieces of equipment that have tubes in them. The tube is just a small, tiny piece of the preamp chain, and the rest is just cheap electronics, just like any other piece of equipment in your studio. That if you're using stuff from the likes of Behringer and stuff like that, so you're looking at low quality circuitry, a cheap power supply that's plugs into the wall, a wall wart, and the powering this tube. Tube electronics need a boatload of voltage and current to operate at best efficiency. Another problem with tube stuff is it takes a long time to stabilize, aka warm up.
Yeah.
So a lot of studios that are professional commercial studios that have tube equipment, such as tube microphones or tube preamps, those suckers have to be on. They leave them on 24 hours a day. I don't recommend, if you have tube stuff, I recommend turn it on first thing in the morning, turn it off when you go, turn off the lights at night. But they say each time you turn a tube piece of gear on and off, it's like a light bulb. When does a light bulb tend to blow out? When you turn it on.
Turn it on, right.
Yeah, so they recommend leaving them on for that reason. The other thing about tubes is they have instability about them. I mean, there's a reason why the transistor took over for tubes in the 50s and 60s. The tube is just old technology that has some inherent instability. Now, some people have a romantic relationship with tubes. They like the mystique of it, the They love that. They think that it's giving them this warmth. And there's a lot of reasons why a lot of people think that they're getting a warmth sound from the tube when actually they aren't. You only will get a warmth out of the tube, which is basically what's called distortion. And tubes distort what's called even harmonic distortion. So as the thing goes in distortion, it adds layers of distortion that resonate in tune with the base level sound, or the fundamental. Basically, technically saying that when a tube distorts, it adds something pleasant to the sound, whereas when solid state distorts, it's supposed to add something not so pleasant because it's odd order harmonics. Basically what that means is tubes supposed to fatten up the sound, but unless you punch the tube hard enough to actually get into distortion, you don't actually, there is no increase in fatness from the tube. What I'm saying is it's basically placebo effect. So,
yeah, it's up here more than anything else.
It really,
It's a lot of. I think it's a lot of selling the sizzle as opposed to selling the steak.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of people think that they. Again, we've said this so many times, but we'll repeat it again because it's so true. You're not trying to sound like you're on the radio in 1958 or 1963 or 1975 when you're listening to your favorite, progressive station. Tubes are from another era. They're a totally different technology. It's a gimmick. If it's designed for musicians, they're playing guitars and they want to get that warm sound of of a nice tube amp or something like that. That's great. But for the human voice, the way we can capture it now with these ultra modern mics like this one, actually, this is a
take on an old mic. Yeah.
It's a very modern take on an old mic.
Right.
We've nicknamed this Franken mic because it's a lot of different things combined into one, and it sounds pretty good. So who cares?
Yeah.
But it's you want to be able to sound as clean and crisp as you can today, because most of the time you're not even going to have to worry about what it sounds like, because if somebody wants you to be warmer, the engineer on the other end is going to do that for you, unless you're producing your own stuff. And I simply don't believe that the people buying up tubes, they're not buying them for voiceover. They're buying it for music, and mostly for electric guitars that have, they've got cab amps and stuff like that. Am I right, George?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I had a client just the other day who had bought this really fancy black box tube preamp, and he was complaining that, well, I got a triode and a pentobe gain control, and I kind of been monkeying around with them for about a year or so, and the problem is that I can't seem to reproduce the settings that I want each time, because my wife uses the studio too, and I have grease pencil marks, but I put it back and I'm like, oh my god, exhausting.
Yeah.
You need a more of a set it and forget it scenario, and tube stuff tends to not be so much set it and forget it. The other thing I was telling him as well is that a tube gear is great when you've got a full-time engineer controlling the thing, getting the most out of it, really when tracking your voiceover and watching that needle closely. And it literally, like a good engineer will, during a vocal track recording, they will actually ride the gain on the preamp and work with the vocalist to make sure that they're getting it right in that nice sweet spot to get the most out of that tube preamp. There's no way you're going to do this in voiceover. So that's another reason why it just doesn't seem to be worth it. A couple more quickies. Okay. Background, tube equipment tends to be a little bit noisier. You tend to get more noise floor. You need the lowest possible noise floor with voiceover. That is one of your number one goals, is low noise. And the other thing is tubes, like I said earlier, they go out. They don't often just burn out, though. They sort of degrade over time. So, a year or 2 or 3 goes by, your sound's getting progressively noisier and maybe not as clean and not as bright, but you don't know it because it's so gradual, and then all of a sudden people are wondering, why is his sound not as good as I remember it? Or, you get hired by an old client and they're like, it's not happening. That's and another good point. I'll round it off with this because I could go on and on, as you can tell.
I got one after that.
Okay, I'll talk about heat. Is this what you're going to say?
No,
okay.
I was one other thing, but go on.
Heat, yeah. My dad brought it up. Trumpet Guy 99. Hey, Dad. He knows tube stuff. He was working on electronics in the 60s. Tube stuff generates a lot of heat. So unless you are looking for a heater to put in your booth, I don't think anybody on the planet is looking for a heater in the booth. That can be another problem. They generate a lot of heat. They need huge power supplies. They need everything about them has to be oversized and over-engineered to make them work and be stable. So that's it. I'm not going to complain anymore.
Yeah, but
take over.
Yeah, but not only that, you got to keep them cool. So what you got to do is get your dog in there and wag its tail behind the rack and try and keep the tube cool. The other thing that they do, it's just to show you what a scam this is. All right, it's not a scam.
It's not a scam.
It's marketing. But if you've ever had an old radio or something like that has tubes in it, they glow this wonderful little orange glow.
Oh, it's very pretty.
Yes.
Isn't it?
So what some of these modern manufacturers are doing is they put the tube in there and then they put a little window in there. And then they put a light behind it. Some are actually putting a red LED or an orange. Well, they don't even make orange
red
LEDs.
Or blue.
Red or blue. And it's like, ooh, it's a tube. It's nonsense, folks. Stay clean, crisp. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Like we say every week here. Just keep it simple. Don't go for a tube amp. What are you trying to do to yourself?
Yeah. I mean, if you want something like Dan said, you can. I think Behringer makes like a 4-channel preamp that's all tube, and you can get them on.
I'm not going to say I actually have one, but
no, it's because you can get them really cheap, right?
Yeah.
So
does somebody want one really cheap?
Well, just plug it in, turn it on, put it in your rack. Go look how cool that is. But at the end of the day, you're running through a MicPort Pro. So,
exactly.
You guys ever heard of Funk Logic? Have you ever heard of Funk Logic, Dan?
I've heard of Funk. I've heard of several different types of Logic.
If you want to fill your rack up, if you have a rack, if any of you guys still have racks of gear,
I do.
If you still actually need that. Most of you guys might have a rack because you had a DAT recorder and a cassette recorder and all this stuff. So now you want to fill up that space. Funk Logic makes blank panels. Well, they're not blank, actually. They're rack panels with knobs and a meter that have nothing behind them. They're like the Wild West sets from the spaghetti westerns where, it's just a two-dimensional piece. So if you can get these things and put them in your rack just to fill it in and make it look cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my take on that.
That's all for tubes tonight.
I've exhausted that one.
Thank you for tuning in.
Rant's
all right.
over.
Yeah, but right now we're going to take a break, and but we need to announce a new sponsor.
Finally.
Yes, our friends at Pop Quiz.
Mm-hmm.
What is Pop Quiz? Well, we're going to find out, and we'll be back with some commentary and some more discussion on that right after these messages, including our new sponsors.
El Dorado Recording Services.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
This is Alex Verdi.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish
I've got my travel kit, I got my Source Connect, I've got it all going on, thanks to you.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
Hey, my name is Bob Ball. I'm a voice actor and host of Pop Quizzical. Sure. I hear you thinking, Bob, what is this Pop Quizzical you speak of? Well, I'll tell you. It's a fun and funny, single-themed 10 to 15-minute audio quiz. It comes out every other week right here on the internets. You know, that thing that just about everything cool flows from. Pictures of cats, videos of dogs, and yes, Pop Quizzical. It's available on iTunes and wherever fine podcasts are sold. And it's easily found, too. Go to bit.ly/popquizzical. There's also a companion website at popquizzical.com with daily quiz questions, and every Friday over on the Pop Quizzical Facebook page, it's a freebie Friday. Free stuff throughout the day. From The Muppet Show to James Bond to St. Patrick's Day, the Pop Quizzical podcast has a little bit of everything for you. Challenge your mind and your funny bone with Pop Quizzical.
Class dismissed. This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Now back to Dan and George.
All right. Well, we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop. And new sponsor. That's a great spot.
That is a great spot. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, that means I got to update my spot too.
I know. That ups the ante.
It does. All right. It's the Video Wars.
That's right.
We'll try and improve on that one. Well, this has been an interesting week if you've been following anything that's been going on. I don't want to say too much about what happened in the past, but I certainly do want to talk about the future, and I think it's time that we learn a little bit about our community and think about something that really needs to be done. So roll that commentary.
Hey.
Do you realize what a unique community we belong to? While we think we're being invaded by amateurs with cheap USB mics and going on the notion that someone told them, "Hey, you have a great voice," we know what we do is not easy. As our friend Paul Striquerta brilliantly wrote this week about in the nature of having a home voiceover studio. It's lonely. We're isolated. We have technical issues. It's a complex freelance business. As Daniel Pink brilliantly captured in his book, we are a free agent nation. To take a step further, as Thomas Friedman, who I generally disagree with on other issues, described our market correctly in his book, the world is flat. The world is outsourcing to us. Our little corner of the market is also unique in how close-knit the community of individual business people are. We have a common purpose. The majority have recognized that we are not truly competitors. We're all talented, we're all unique, and understand that the competitive advantage is just being more professional and more technically savvy than the next guy, and that there's so much work to go around that there's something for everyone who participates in that manner. Because this is a virtual industry, there's no psyching out in the casting waiting room, no backstabbing, because the casting is truly blind. Because we're creative individuals, we tend to have much in common psychologically. If you've attended Voice or FAFCon or are one of our wonderful audience here on EWABS, you also understand the deeper connection. We're family. I know I can contact any one of you out of the blue, having never met you, and we'll talk for hours. I know other freelance artists commune in much the same manner. Photographers, web designers, freelance commercial artists, which, by the way, we are too. So we have common needs. We need to come together in an organized manner to harness this energy that has created this unique virtual community and work together to deal with the unique marketing, legal, and technical issues involved, along with the socially isolating nature of our trade. Now, I'm not talking about forming a new union. SAG-AFTRA is there, and while it understands the changing nature of our business, its responsibility, historically, is to see to the physical and financial welfare of artists who primarily work outside of their home. Those who have yet to come to the realization that the world has changed and the ability to do it at home is going to be essential to their survival. Perhaps this new merged modern thinking union will someday address our very unique situation. Those of us with the additional skill of how to artistically and technically create what we do on our own, but collaboratively, wherever we are. I propose something that will serve our needs as independent business people, not workers employed by companies. A trade association, also known as an industry trade group or business association or sector association. It's an organization founded and funded by businesses that operate in a specific industry. An industry trade association participates in public relations activities such as advertising, education, and publishing, but its main focus is collaboration between businesses, or what we call standardization. Many associations are not-for-profit organizations, governed by bylaws and directed by officers who are also actually voting members of the association, not just certificate of accreditation holders. This is a model that makes sense for us. The independently based freelance voice artist, here and now. To have an individual competitive advantage, we need to have agreed standards of business to strive for, marketing-wise, legally, and because of the new territory of being able to produce quality audio at home, accreditation of technical skills based on the reality of today's digital marketplace, not outdated, obsolete broadcasting standards. A good voice artist association would also have an association website, which would explain the association's aims and objectives, explain the benefits of membership to prospective members, and promote its accredited members by means of a properly promoted and easy-to-access online directory of members, their demos, links to their individual websites and accomplishments, and to be a showplace to represent our industry to voice seekers. A member's newsletter or magazine, whether produced or in print or online, it would contain news about the activities of the association, industry news and editorial features on topical issues written by its members and outside experts with a unique perspective to the work we do. An educational program and individual mentoring program to advance competency to achieve the standards set by the association and attain official certification. This is a concept that is standard across all skilled trades: plumbers, electricians, civil engineers, and other professional trades. We are no different. Now, I'm not proposing a new social networking site, another time vortex. We all have lives to live and copy to record. But we need cohesion, and we need to develop a professional standard to our industry. And we need to develop leadership to maintain the ideals and goals of that association. Let's continue to show how unique our community of professionals is. Let's do it right. Let's do it for all of us. Let's do it now. Stay tuned.
All right. Nicely said.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, well, took a lot of writing there, a little bit of a manifesto. But no, I think it's time for that sort of thing. And again, the past is the past. And I don't want to dwell on the past. It's time for something that's actually going to do that, something that's going to certify people and train them. I think that's really, really important.
This is just a devil advocate thing.
Okay.
Now we've got the SAG-AFTRA, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is this different from the union? Because I mean, how is this concept different from the SAG-AFTRA union, just for example?
Well, again, as I said in there, it's a matter of unions their interest is people who work outside the home, people who have to go to a workplace, have to make sure that the working conditions are right and that the financial arrangements are right for someone that works outside the home. Yeah. So the home you see, this is the whole point. I find that being a home studio voice actor is a very, very unique position because, one, we're distant from everything that's going on. We're alone. It's different, but most importantly, because we're the ones doing all the work. We're the ones doing the recording. We're the ones doing the editing. We're the ones doing the processing. We're the ones that are packaging the audio. We're doing things that guys who walk into a studio don't know how to do. Right. Some of them do. Some people, I mean, they're good at both, but there's a lot of folks that all they do is walk into a studio, and I don't take it personally, but I get a little itchy about it when they say, I was working with somebody who said that they were, I was talent for 30 years. I never touched anything. Yeah. Well, you want to pick up a brick and throw it at them. I spent 20 years in radio turning the dials and doing this and turning the transmitter on and off and understanding what a VU meter is.
Right.
And guys who walk into a studio and go, I'm an actor. What we do the exact same thing. We can be actors. We can put the right feel on something. And there's a lot more work out there than just doing commercials. As a matter of fact, that's probably 5% of everything that's out there. Mm. We're doing all the bulk of the work. And we need to represent ourselves to the industry that hires those people to know that there are good certified people out there that know what they're doing. And that's why I think we need something like this.
Yeah, it makes sense. The dynamics of, there's so many things I don't understand, even though I'm living in a world of union everything that's happening around me. And most of my clients here in LA are union.
Right.
I don't understand what happens with unions outside of this market, out of LA and out of New York. And apparently even cities like San Diego now are basically completely off the union map. Just 2 hours from Los Angeles. So it's definitely changing. And I don't know if it's because the unions feel that they don't have the resources to properly staff all these smaller markets,
right?
Or what it is. But it's definitely starting to become like, there's a concentration of energy now only in the bigger markets, and then the smaller markets are all dropping off the union radar, if you want to call it that.
Right, but I'm not suggesting that the union's isn't good, because the union is over the years
set standards, of rates, and
all that stuff. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
The unique thing that we do as home studio engineers, I think, needs representation, but not in the form of a union. I think that we are business people, and business people don't need unions. Business people need to work together to find standardization, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not. I think that if the union can address the same thing, where's the membership application? I'm waiting for that.
Right. Yeah, that sounds good. I think it's the way to go. Like, everybody's coming in and like you said, social networks and all these different programs. And the reason they're doing them is because they do help a lot of people without having to do a tremendous amount of community or board discussions and meetings. And they're things that you can, like, as an individual, roll out, put into place, and get working. Right. And it's great that those have happened. It's great that there's a voiceover universe and all the forums that are out there, and they're all really beneficial. But yeah, to have a unified organization that protects and kind of just keep, as a protective umbrella for the vast majority of the people in the actual voiceover business at this point. Yeah, it's definitely seems like it's something that's time has come.
Yeah, and not a protection thing. I'm talking about representation to the rest of the world as to what we do and how we can do it more cost effectively. I'm not talking about a union. That's a whole different concept. Yeah. I'm talking an industry association that promotes what we do, not that we set rates and do all that kind of stuff. There's a place for that. But for what I'm talking about, I think it's necessary to have a representative organization for the unique thing that we do as voice actors. And I think, with home studios, which is what this show is all about. So,
right, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to beat this to a dead horse anyway. But I can see people are, they're chatting away in there. I want to catch some of what they're saying.
Well,
so anyway,
let's introduce Hillary.
Yeah, well, when Hillary comes in the next segment here, we can ask her about that. See what she says. I'm sure she's going to promote the union, because it's good for someone like her who does that type of work, and I think that's fabulous. So anyway, let's take a break right now, and I'll go towel off, and we'll be back with Hillary Huber after this message.
I've got a little teaser actually to drop in.
Oh, good, toss it in there.
Yeah. Hillary Huber has been a successful voiceover talent for 15 years, actually probably longer. She has done thousands of commercials, including national accounts for Toyota, Birdseye, Boeing, Ford, Tylenol, Taco Bell, Walmart, and McDonald's, among others. She has live announced several award shows, including the Emmys and the People's Choice Awards. Her passion is audiobooks, and Hillary has recorded well over 100 titles. She is a multiple Audie finalist, Earphones Award winner, and one of AudioFile's best voices of 2010 and 2011. Hillary records on a regular basis in her home studio, as well as with other audiobook producers around the country. Her narration consistently garners glowing reviews. Hillary Huber's narration is lyrical enough to be set to music, says AudioFile magazine. So stick around. She's coming up next.
All right. Stay tuned.
This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Two guys I love spending Sunday nights with.
Well, all right. Well, it's great to be back then. And we've got our special guest tonight who's been waiting patiently in the wings and listening to us go back and forth for the last half hour. A lady who is exceedingly accomplished in our industry with audiobooks and commercials and announcing big-time events. Hillary Huber, welcome to East West Audio Body Shop.
Thanks. I'm getting a big ol' echoing lag time.
Oh, are you still watching the show?
Oh, should I turn that off?
Please.
Oh.
Yeah, turn the show off.
Oh, there we go.
That helps.
It's just like radio. We have that built-in delay.
Yeah, turn off your radio.
Okay, I did it. I'm new to all this, fellas.
No, you're not. You've been doing this all your life.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
you just
for
don't
joining
realize
us.
it. It's great to have you with us. Now what are you working on right now these days so that we might be familiar with?
I'm about to start a new book called it's a modern day House of Mirth kind of. So I'm starting recording that this week, and just some commercials here and there. Lots of books.
Well, we got to ask you the standard question. How did you get started?
You get started?
Okay, and just in voiceover in general?
Yeah, in voiceover in general.
I bounced around doing all kinds of different silly careers after I graduated from college. I studied acting all through college, but never really had a desire to be an on-camera actor. I did summer stock theater and took tons of acting classes. But then I graduated from college and I did a whole bunch of dumb jobs and never found anything that I felt passionate about, but had been told my whole life, oh, you got to do something with that voice. You got to do something with that voice. It doesn't sound terribly unique now, but when I was 16, I sounded like this, and it was a lot different then. So I really made a concerted effort to get into voiceover. My husband is in advertising, and so I was around a lot of ad people, and I took a bunch of classes, and I tried to get an agent, and I got nothing. It's hard. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle is getting an agent. And I even went so far as, and this is going to date me, sending out my demo tape, first dating, in a Walkman, second dating, to the 5 top agents in LA with a little card that said, put on the headphones, press play, listen to the dulcet tones of Hillary Huber and call her up and hire her. And I got nothing, which was pretty disconcerting because I thought that was kind of clever. I managed to get a job through a friend of a friend of a friend, nepotism. And the engineer in that first job hooked me up with my first agent, who was Jeff Howell at ARL. And so I kind of slid in the back way. And that leads me to what I think the best advice I can give anybody who wants to enter the world of voiceover is to keep going. Just keep trying. I teach with Pat Fraley, and so I have students in contact with me all the time, and I see so much discouragement and disappointment, and I just want to be a cheerleader and say, keep going, keep trying, keep talking to people, meeting people, and just stick to it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that I think people need to understand that, they're sending out tapes, they're sending out discs, there's making phone calls. It's all about networking. It's who you know, who you know, who knows somebody, and you've got to make the point of making those contacts and getting out there. Yeah. And that's really how you get to meet people.
There's
and how you
nothing
move
at all wrong with nepotism.
No.
Whatever it takes to
get
your foot in the door, man. I'll tell you.
That's right. No, I mean, cold calling is a joke. If you can get somebody to walk your demo in to an agency, you got a much better leg up.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you really split your time between? Are you doing mostly audiobooks, or are you doing all other things? E-learning?
I'm going to say yes to mostly audiobooks, just because time-wise, it's hours and hours and hours and hours. But I split it pretty equally between commercial and audiobooks. Just audiobooks take a lot longer.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about it. I got one that's going on 3 months right now. But
wow.
And it's only 100 pages, but you'll never believe it. Anyway. Yes. Now, how are you set up? You have your own home studio there.
I do. I have a little whisper booth, which is tiny, but I love it. I built a little table in it because I sit to do my books.
Yeah.
So I spend most of my time in here sitting. So I cut a little piece of plywood in a triangle shape. I can show it to you.
Sure.
Go for it.
I
Bang,
got a
crash.
crap in here. Can you see? See, I built this little. Can you see it?
Yeah.
I bolted it to the wall, and I
Uh-huh.
built these little legs, and I bolted it to the wall, and I covered it in cork, which didn't do enough sound.
Yeah.
Kind of bounced it, so I put a blanket over it. And then I just have my monitor, and then I have my mic mounted, on one of those things.
Mm-hmm. One of those things, yes.
Pretty light up there.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
My iPad over there. I read on my iPad.
Yeah, I love those mic booms for the
That
booth.
thing is great. The Heil mic boom.
Yeah.
I love it.
What else is in the booth with you?
All
Because when you lifted up the laptop, the sound got cleaner, and when you put it back down, I hear this sound
it?
sort of like a vacuum cleaner.
That cleaner. It's the fan of the laptop.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh, okay. That's why you shouldn't use a laptop when you.
No, and I don't. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
I've only gotten
No,
in
she
here
doesn't.
because I have my setup all outside, so I just have a monitor in here and a wireless keyboard and a wireless
Right.
mouse.
Right.
And
Excellent.
And this. And that.
Yeah, it does the job.
Yeah. What kind of a mic is that? Is that a
It's
Heil?
a Rode. It's a Rode.
Oh, it's a
MT1.
Rode. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
and
an MT1.
when I was first setting up my studio, I was ready to drop some dig on a fancy mic.
Yeah.
And the fellas at Blackstone who set up my first studio, the engineers, told me not to. They said this mic will be great for you, and it's like $250, right?
That's
so
just
that's what I got.
proof positive that searching and searching and searching for the perfect mic sometimes is not the most important priority. It's probably practicing and auditioning and getting jobs.
I think so. I mean, I hope so. I hope so because that's the thing I got.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you find is what technique do you use to let me formulate this right. I never come up with the right questions, but for when you're doing audiobooks, do you do a lot of different characters, or are you doing a lot of nonfiction stuff, or is it mostly mostly novella type of stuff?
It's everything. It's everything. And as far as characters are concerned, it's my most important job is to realize the author's words and the author's intent and the flavor of the story. And so if it's a big, large, crazy book, like I do a lot of vampire books and demon books, and those characters are otherworldly, literally otherworldly. And
they're
so
dark.
that comes, they're dark. I do a lot of big 6'6" vampires from all over. They all have different accents, and they're all incredibly handsome. So those books call for giant characterization. I can get away with it. But you do a more modern day, suburban little love story. It's much more realistic, and I don't feel the need or that it's right to go that far in my characterization. I don't want it to sound cartoony. I want it to sound real. So
Right.
I tend to play in that situation. I tend to play an attitude more than necessarily feeling like I have to completely change my voice.
Right.
I think you just play an attitude, it changes it enough.
Yeah.
Obviously, if given signals like somebody has a lisp or an accent, I play that.
Right.
But I really let the book guide me in how far I go with my characters.
Let me ask you this. Do you get to really pick and choose what books you want to do? Or are you constantly, you have like a backlog of saying, we want you to do this one, this one, this one, this one, or?
No, I don't pick. I just take it as it goes. I mean, there are a couple times I've gotten things that I don't think I'm appropriate for, and there's certain subject matter that I won't do. But for the most part, I'm happy to get work, and I think that every book has something to teach me. So I read everything that comes my way for the most part, unless I don't think I can do it justice. But no, I don't get to pick and choose. Every now and then I'll see a book that I really love and I'll try and go after it. But for the most part, I just wait for them to come to me.
Not a bad position to be in.
Yeah, really. We got some questions from our studio audience now. They're actually all over the freaking place.
Yeah.
First, Diane wants to know, is your studio ventilated?
Yes.
It is in Southern California.
Yeah. I'll tell you though, I'm very fortunate. I'm in a basement. and it's all solid concrete down here. So I do have the ventilation system that you can buy with the whisper room, and I've never had to turn it on since I've been here. In my old house, my booth was behind my garage in an uninsulated room, and it got really hot and it got really cold. So I used the fan quite a bit then, and I had a little heater that I would bring in to heat it up. But since I've been down here, nothing. I've never turned the ventilation on.
Wow,
yeah, basements are great. It's always a constant 65, 70 degrees down here in the black hole of Calcutta. So if you can have a basement, and that's an oddity in California too. Do you
it's
have
really
a basement?
odd. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm really lucky.
You're in Santa Monica, right, Holly?
Mm-hmm.
You're not too far from me. It's generally not a hot place part of town, so it helps to find a cooler place to put a whisper room for sure. Just a little more about your studio the technology in your studio. What are you plugging your mic into? Does it go right into like an M box, or does it go into a preamp first?
No, it goes right into the M box.
Right into the M
Good
box.
girl.
Clean and simple.
Yeah, it goes right into the M box, and then I just have a little Mac Mini.
Yeah.
My triples.
Yeah. Nice and simple.
You fixed it.
Well, you have two complete systems, right? Isn't there like one thing you do that's different?
Yes. I work quite a bit for a publisher called Tantor Media, and they send their narrators a computer loaded with their proprietary software, and
there we go.
Oh, that is. However, I put me in this in front of a TV, and I can tell you what to do with it. Put this in my hands on my computer, and I'm set. My books. They load my book right on the computer, and it comes up on the screen like karaoke. The words scroll, and I click from graph to graph. It highlights a couple sentences, and I read them. And I click, and I go to the next one, and I click. There's no wave pattern. There's nothing. So if you make a mistake, I just stop it, and I start it, and I do that paragraph again. Which is, it's crazy. And then you just shut it down. You don't have to do anything. It's crazy.
Closest to like an ISDN for book narrators, I guess.
Well,
you'd
no,
say.
it's not. Except it's not ISDN. It's all on my computer, right?
But I mean, you don't have to do the editing.
No, I don't have to do certainly no editing on that.
And
otherwise,
that leads me to the next question for sure.
Yeah, which is do you
punch and roll? Do you punch and roll?
Yeah, I do. I didn't when I first started. I had Peak, and I would just roll along. I'd make a mistake, and I'd stop, and I'd mark my text and send that to the editor to edit it. And it was kind of with Peak, you can't stop and start at all. Your file is just your file.
Yeah.
At least I was working on Peak. I don't know what it's like now.
Still is, yeah.
That was in my old house, and I could hear. I'd heard a lot of noises there, and I could hear the crows. We'd have these huge packs of crows that would come, and they'd land on the walls, and I'd go out with a little, like an air pellet gun, knock them like shoot up, and yell, "Ah, get away from here!" And the editors would laugh so hard. There's Hillary with her gun. So they don't get to hear that anymore.
That's good. Can you imagine running out into the alley in Santa Monica with a pellet gun shooting?
With a pellet gun shooting crows.
Man, you'd be carried out of town.
Is that legal there?
Yes.
Yeah, no discharge of firearms. This isn't Texas.
I didn't heard
it. A couple other quick questions here. I've done a few books. You've obviously done tons of books. Do you ever work with the author directly?
Yes. I love to work with the author. It's my favorite thing in the world is being able to get a hold of the author. And I almost always ask if I can have access. One, because they can help me with pronunciations. And two, I feel it's a collaborative effort. And if I have that opportunity, I think it's incredible. I know a lot of narrators who feel completely opposite. Maybe they've had bad experiences with authors who get too controlling. I could see that possibly happening. I have not yet. And a lot of my authors are now friends. And I feel very fortunate to be able to have that input. I think it's great. Sometimes they couldn't care less and they'll give me the obligatory answers to my questions. And other times they're really into the process. And I think that's terrific. I want to do the best I can for them. So I value their input.
Yeah, and some people are probably wondering, when you're doing some major release books and major, authors that everybody would read, is there direction in there, or did they toss you the book and go at it, or did they give you any direction at all?
Very, the big guys have some control, but for the most part, the authors, the audio rights are sold independently from the actual book rights,
right.
And the authors kind of have no say and no control over A, who reads their book, and B, what that person does with it. Again, bigger authors or savvy authors who, when they sell their books, have control over the audio rights as well. They will have a little control. So sometimes I have to have author approval before I'm given a book, but for the most part, they don't get a lot of control. So that's a note to any authors out there. Ask for a little control over the audio portion of your book.
Yep. I was wondering, were you listening in earlier when we were talking about an industry association and the unions and stuff like that?
I was.
Okay.
I had a cool idea. I mean, it's independent of the union, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. We're not even talking about a union.
I'm a rah-rah union girl, and I have been for almost 20 years, and I have fought hard to bring audiobooks into the realm of the union. So I understand the struggle of working in a small town around the country and not getting union work. But I just feel that it's important to keep our union strong to protect us all.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about is completely different. So I certainly think it's interesting, and I think there is potentially a need for that also. And I think people have talked about creating a little more voiceover. Well, yours is more like voiceover engineer related, right? Well,
no. People who are voice actors, but also have to do their own engineering, like you do in your studio there. I mean, you do some of your editing, you mark your stuff, but there's a lot of folks out here. I think a lot of our audience. We're isolated, we're there, but we're doing a lot of the production work. They're doing a lot of the stuff that goes out directly to another consumer organization, e-learning, a lot of a massive amount of material that is probably in larger volume than audiobooks and commercial work combined.
Yeah,
and that's why this large crew of people really needs to have some cohesion to it, and that's really what I'm talking about. Not talking about a union at all.
No, but an association, like we have the we have the APA, the Audio Publisher Association.
Right.
Publisher, not narrator, but they have folded us in. It's like a trade group.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Information, share contacts. So I think that's terrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a tight-knit community, the voiceover world. And I think that everybody is willing to help everybody for the most part. And that's really beneficial.
What do you think of ACX?
ACX.
You familiar with it?
She has this look of disdain on her face.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
The jury's out on ACX.
Yeah. Whether it's a benefit to the industry as a whole or to the actors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes. I mean, on the one hand, I think that it has the potential to drive prices way down when people who would not have access to books are having access to books and are willing to narrate them for sub-standard rates. I think that's very unfortunate. If we can maintain decent wages, then I think that's terrific.
Yeah.
Certainly, people, little independent writers who want to get their books recorded, that's great also. I'm unsure yet. I can't come down either way on ACX.
What is a decent wage? I mean, what is a good finished hour rate for a book reader?
It's a good question. And that's one thing people are a little quiet about. But I would say, for the most part, somewhere around the 200, 225. That's right. Take some notes, Dan. 225 finished hour for an average working narrator is fair. We're starting to have union contracts, and the rates are different with every publisher. So I think at Books on Tape, it's somewhere around 240, 235, somewhere in there. It might be on a sliding scale also. The more you do, your rate goes up a little bit.
That's per finished hour, or
that is per finished hour. So if the book is 10 hours, you'll get 2,000, 2,250 for the finished book. It may take you 20 to do it. So at that point, you do the math. Your actual working rate is down to 100 or 125.
How many of the books that you do you have to self-edit? And how many do you get to just...
I don't edit any.
Okay, good.
No, it goes somewhere else.
I was going to say, do you have to personally sub out somebody to edit for you, or is that handled by the publisher?
It's handled by the publisher, but it's certainly going that way. And if I do a book on ACX, I'm prepared to do a book that way, and I have editors lined up. So I've just been a little lazy. That means taking off my narrator hat and putting on a producer hat.
Yeah.
And I like to read. So I've kind of.
She's freezing up a little bit.
You're willing to reduce hat.
Yeah.
And more control of the finished product, I suspect. So I think I'm probably going that way. I just haven't yet. But it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, things evolve, as they say.
Yeah.
They do.
Great thing. I mean, I have friends who are producing quite a bit now, and I think that's terrific. It makes them more productive. They can have somebody editing, and they're recording more. So, power to you.
Yeah, there is a demand for editing out there, and then there are folks like me that just love to edit and love to act, and it takes a little bit longer, but you really have tremendous creative control over what goes out there. But
that's great. I just think, God, if I had to edit my own stuff, it'd be like the third time I read it, I'd want to put a bullet.
Well, somebody asked, actually, do you read the book down before you record
Absolutely. I do. Certainly in fiction. I will always. You got to know where the story's going and who the characters are. I have a friend who was 3/4 of the way through a book that she did not have the time to pre-read, and she read the line, Catherine said in her haughty British accent. First mention of her haughty British accent. But go back and replace every line. So remember that if you choose not to pre-read. Sometimes with nonfiction, I'll do a scan, but not a super in-depth pre-read. But I don't recommend that to anybody who doesn't have a lot of experience narrating books already. Cold reading is a particular skill that takes a while to develop. You should always read the book.
Yeah, I heard J.V. Martin and I heard Scott Brick talk about their different techniques for pre-read versus not pre-read. And J.V. Martin says I do a ton of prep, and then I think Scott Brick said that he sometimes reads cold.
Yeah,
and everybody has a different skill.
Absolutely. Also if you've done a series, one of my vampire series, I'm on book 12.
Right.
I'll read it just to see what new accent I have to do, because there's always a new vampire from another part of the world. But for the most part, I know those characters now, so I don't have to really.
That helps. So it's an episodic book, so you can just you learn the characters and go along.
I know those characters like my family.
Yeah. There's no exactly. There's no more fun really than to take on that many characters and really get into the meat of a book like that. And I think people who do fiction, that is such a marvelous skill to be able to do that. So I think that's really cool.
Best job in the world. I love it.
We all do. This is a great profession. Hillary, it has been fabulous having you on the show tonight.
Thank you.
And for being here, you will get
some free swag.
Free swag!
Stay tuned. We'll send you a link, and you'll be able to choose one of 4 beautiful items with our logo on them.
Adorable.
So.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for everybody who tuned in. And if anybody ever has any questions, you can find me on Facebook or hills@hillaryhuber.com. I'm happy to help people out.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
Sure. Thanks, you guys.
Okay, we'll see you real soon.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Dan.
Okay. What? You'll let me take what?
Well, the problem is this transition from caller without going to a break is challenging because I have no clean way to hang up on them and make it look super fancy and clean on the show. But,
too late.
We'll go with it. I'm trying to look professional over here. Oh, whatever. We make do.
That's true.
Everybody knows it's Skype. I mean, boy, it couldn't be more obvious sometimes.
Yeah, there's when you see the picture of you and holding Ella in front of me, it's like, all right, well,
Exactly.
you can tell we're on Skype here. Hey, but we're getting it done.
We're getting it done.
All right, even if I am moving it, 2 frames a second.
2 frames, yeah, if we're lucky. Okay. That was awesome. She was lovely to have on the show.
She was, and she gave us some very, very, very good information there, especially the stuff on the rates per minute. I'll make a note of that and keep that down there.
I'm tickled by the guests that we've been having on.
We have, and it's only going to get better. Not that she wasn't great; she was fabulous.
No.
But we're big time people want to be on this show. Just showing you. So when we talk about networking, this is working for us.
It's the giving back. There's this whole thing. People want to give back now.
That's true.
So thank you, everybody that's coming on the show, because you're here number one to give back, and that's why they're doing it.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, it was nice of her to come join us this evening, and we'll have her on again sometime when she's not vacuuming too.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So what's the joke about a noise floor? They used to say a minus 40 dB noise floor is like somebody vacuuming in the next room or something. I'm like, well, it was a little worse than that. But we heard what she said, and that's the most important thing.
That's right.
So thanks to her. And another person we'd like to thank is our buddy Harlan Hogan. Harlan Hogan. He really is. I'm looking forward to seeing him again and talking with him again. We're going to get him on the show again. But the reason that we like him so much, not only because he's a sponsor, but what he does for the industry and with his great website, voiceoveressentials.com. And if you need stuff, if your microphone breaks and you need to get another microphone, he's got a great microphone, and he's got the stuff for mounting that microphone, and he's got the stuff to mount the microphone in case you're on the road. He's got the stuff to mount the thing that you take on the road on. He's got
He's got all the bits and pieces.
He does.
He also has software. I can't remember if we mentioned this one before, but he's got Sony Creative SoundForge 10. SoundForge to me has been like one of those softwares that doesn't get a lot of. It's not sexy, right? I don't know what it is. It doesn't get a lot of talk
because it's PC.
Probably because it's PC. Yeah. But most of the agencies that I've been in, for whatever reason, are PC, and so they often will have this software running in them. And you guys all know how much Dan and I both like Twisted Wave. If you're a Windows person, Sony SoundForge 10 is the closest you're going to get to Twisted Wave on Windows in regards to a simple editor that records 1 and 2 tracks and does it efficiently and easily, and it still has some really powerful processing and things like that built into the software. It's a really powerful program. I think the newest version of SoundForge now is starting to. I think they're trying to compete with Adobe Audition because now it can do multi-track mixing.
Oh.
So it actually kind of folds in some of the functionality of Adobe Audition now into SoundForge. So check it out if you want to try something different on PC, or you've been running an old version and you just want to be up to speed with the latest bells and whistles. Check out the latest SoundForge and grab it from our buddy Harlan. And if you do buy anything from Harlan, just let him know that you came from us and that you thank him for your support of the show, because that makes him feel good. That makes him realize that he's spending his money in the right place. So
that's right. And the best way to do that is you can go to our own website. You can go to what Eldo. What is your new one now? Your
my website?
Yeah, your website.
Well, it's always been Eldo but the new domain I use is VO Studio Tech.
VO Studio Tech. Yeah, just a little bit of a brain belch there.
That's all right.
And of course, if you go to homevoiceoverstudio.com, go to the icon that says Voiceover Essentials, and you'll see Harlan talking into his Porter Booth Pro. Click on that. That'll take you right to his website, and it'll make it easy for you to purchase anything you need that he has that you need.
That's right. Enough on that.
But
thank you, Harlan.
Thank you, Harlan Hogan. All right. Well, we're in the home stretch here. Did we find some pictures to show this week? I mean, we've been getting stuff all over the place.
We did. I didn't get any audio samples this week, and the audio sample thing is a new idea. So if you do send in pictures, please do send along a clip that was recorded in the actual space that's in the pictures.
Right.
We want. Maybe I wasn't clear about that. Actually,
apparently not.
We got an audio sample last week actually from Emil Galina, and it was a really cool presentation on PowerPoint showing the booth and everything. But he did send a follow-up email because he wanted to clarify. And
it's not his bedroom.
I'll read that real quick. Guys, thanks for sharing the swing booth on EWABS this past Sunday. Sorry I couldn't tune in and share some reactions in the chat room. First of all, that the sample you played, George, wasn't recorded at the desk where I always put a felt pad under the mic when I record. That was a cleaned up beauty shot. It wasn't recorded in the swing booth either. It was actually recorded and engineered at Discovery Studios outside Washington, D.C. for a special I narrated for the military channel. I was in one of their standard ultra-heavy ISO booths with the U87. So what you're hearing is the heavy EQ they put on me. I sent it to compare with an unaltered sample I did record at home. Second, too bad the PowerPoint got all boxed up when you opened it. Most of the text was missing and the graphics got distorted and broken apart. Send us stuff in PDF next time or a video version. That way we don't have to worry about that.
Send a TIFF file, a JPEG or something along those lines.
But that was a good one. And he did send along the PDF. So you know what I'll do is I'll post the PDF in the show notes so you guys can download it because it really is a very good presentation. And what he created was really creative and really, really cool looking. The mics he uses are the TLM-193 and the Rode NG-G3. And it's also where he recorded his qualifying material for that organization that will no longer be valid, or not valid, but no longer is being Savoa.
Well,
he recorded his Savoa qualifying material there. So anywho, I promise, and he said, I promise not to tell my wife you called our master bedroom the attic on international web TV. See you guys at Disneyland.
I didn't know.
Well, it's got the peaked roofs, the whatever you want to, the peaked ceiling, whatever you call that.
I mean, I saw it was an attic, but anyway.
Well, we have some pictures from Doug Turkel, and I'm going to bring
Doug,
them up on
the announcer.
Yeah, the announcer, Doug. I'm going to bring that up on the main screen here so everybody can see it. Let me do that now.
Oh, he's got some classic mics too.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need Hillary Huber's title there.
No, you can give it to her.
So yeah, it looks like a nice office space. It looks like a very comfortable workroom. I like the clean design. He looks like he's got cabinets above, and so this looks like it's his editing space where he sits and works.
Mm-hmm.
And this other angle, which for some reason will not let me scroll up and get into the shot, so I'm going to have to get creative here. There we go. It looks like he's got a vocalbooth.com booth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what that is. I could be wrong. That could also be a Gretsch Ken. I think that's a Gretsch Ken booth, actually. And it's got, so if you turn right and look behind the chair, there's the booth. And
there it is.
Looks like a very comfortable place to work, very clean, very organized. Well, everybody, we clean up our studios for the camera, of course.
Yeah, really. No, actually, I know for a fact that's actually just a painting of a studio. No, that's his booth in there, and he does a great job too. And you can see that if you have a soundproof booth like that, it has to be treated on the inside.
Yeah.
There's no way. Otherwise, you're going to sound like you're in a sewer.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a lot to make these booth boxes sound like a studio. They automatically sound like a closet without some work. So,
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to start the big project here. It's we're going to bring We're going to bring in the wrecking ball here to the black hole of Calcutta, and it won't be so black anymore. I guess I'll have to call it something else. But we're gonna pretty much gut in here, and we're gonna build a real good, modern, acoustically perfect booth where you'll be able to take a tuning fork in it, and it'll be it's not going to be that great, but I want to have a little bit of a showplace. I mean, I teach you guys how to do this stuff. I want to be able to build something like that. I've not been a big fan of enclosed booths. And I always, if you can get your noise floor in your home down to a certain level, you really don't have to do that, because if you're not enclosed, if you've got an open end, you're going to be able to dissipate some of the lower frequencies. You don't get any bass reflex, and it's wonderful. And plus, you can just turn around and do your thing and not open doors and worry about ventilation and stuff. But the dogs bark. I showed that my tip of the week last week. There's noise around here, and I do a lot of long format stuff, and somebody's
interruptions.
There's interruptions, and I want to be able to just get that stuff down. I think the interruptions just add a lot of time to the day, and so I think it's time for me to really build something custom in here, and I think we'll document it as we go along, and show you the development on that.
Yeah, it's great. The main idea is you want to get isolated from the floor above. That's a big part of it, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's an odd room, but hey, it's my room.
Yeah. So acoustics has never been the issue here. You've always had good acoustics, and I always encourage people, that's where you should put all your energy in to start a home studio, is get the acoustics right. You can then work up to, the perfect isolated room, and that's where it gets expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
We had Mike McCall on a couple of weeks ago in that art gallery of a studio he had. Yeah. That was, I was like, oh, I got to have one of those. How much was that? Oh, never mind. But we're working on it. But this is, I also, if you're interested in building a booth or a really nice room, our good friend Mr. Nethervoice out there has a great book that I read again. I've read it a couple times about how he built his 7x7 sound studio. Very nice, which he makes really nice by having lots of tulips in it. That's his real secret. That's his real acoustic thing. It's now my iPad ran out of juice because it's on my iPad, but it's.
Paul, put the link in the show, in the chat room for us, and then I'll.
If you're in there,
I will get in the show notes.
Because I think people need to get that book, and it's an ebook. It's easy to read, and he's a great writer, and he talks about how he did this and some very basic things to build a studio, and I'm going to base some of the stuff I do around that. So. He left us. Oh well. Well, at least he showed up. But anyway,
we'll make sure
we'll put it in. It's in the show notes.
Yeah. Jason will take care of it. Jason Lawson has taken over for the show notes.
Jason,
instead of Eric couldn't do it for a while, so Jason picked up the ball. Thanks, Jason.
There he is. No, Paul's in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So type in the address to where to get the ebook for the soundproof booths there.
Yeah. Make sure we can tell everybody where to find that.
That's right.
And
okay.
Speaking of things to find, you need to get stuff like this to help out the show.
That's true.
This is the travel mug from, this is our swag travel mug. You can get it at shop.ewabs.com. And there's all sorts of nifty stuff on there. If you guys have any ideas for something neat that we don't have on that shop, let me know, and I'll see if I can get it on there. I know there's been a request for wine glasses.
Yep.
So
the official EWABS spiked collars.
Yeah, we've gotten some interesting requests, but we're working on it. But this is one of my favorites, the travel mug. But please do take a browse, and if there's anything on there that looks interesting, grab it, and it does help the show. And if you just don't need any stuff, you just want to help us out, then you can go to ewabs.com, and there's a donation link on the home page on the left side of the page. And we really appreciate it. And thanks so much for helping us stay at this for so long. Episode 45 is now
45
in the can.
Yeah, but we got some great plans coming up, though. We got some great stuff that we're going to be doing. I know it's getting late, but hold on for another second here. Let's see. We're going to be at Voice 2012 at Disneyland with our
live.
Ears live. Well, I think we're going to tape because they're not there on Sunday.
True. Live to the people that are there, and
that are there, right,
live to tape, and then you get the idea.
We'll get some big stars on for that one. But the week before, we got a great plan. We're going to be doing our 50th anniversary show.
That's right. At DLFVOL.
At the Don LaFontaine Voiceover Lab, which I have been in, and it's a marvelous facility. We could have lots of fun. We'll have to plan some interesting things there. Maybe get an audience in there.
Actually, we could.
We could.
We've got room for like 15 people to sit in there. So
Yeah.
Stay tuned. The ideas are just sort of formulating as we talk. But
I hadn't thought of that. We also want to get some manufacturers on. I know we've been talking to the folks at AEA, whatever the name of it. AEA.
The ribbon mic guys.
The ribbon mic people,
sort of reproduced the old RCA mics.
Right, and the guy who's charged of that, Wes Dooley, who's a legend in the ribbon microphone business, and and they make great stuff there, and we're trying to get some other manufacturers on here to talk to you about their products and why they're so much better than the other producer of something that was on the week before.
Exactly, they're also busy. I mean, this is a busy time of season.
It is.
There's all these trade shows. NAB, I think, just wrapped up or wrapping up today. So when the dust settles, I think in the summertime we'll start to be able to get a couple of manufacturers in. I think it's a valid. They've got ideas about products, new products, and they can better educate you on some of the finer points about their offerings, like the Apogee mic.
That's right. And for building studios, your tape measures, which I keep handy here all the time. All right, because what is it? Measure twice, cut once.
Oh yeah,
I've been measure 3 times. Me, it might be 4 or 5 times because it's like, are this in centimeters or inches? Anyway, all right. I think that's going to do it for us for this week. Oh God, I hope I have a better week than I had this last one. But it's been exciting.
It was a good week for me. I was busy.
I'm glad to hear that.
I was very glad to have as much work. I'm blessed. I mean, I got to work with Dave Fenoy.
Ooh,
Dreadman. The man with the dreads. So he's a cool cat.
Hey, does he want to be on the show?
I think he would. I think he just moved, and I never try to bug people to be on the show when they've literally just moved and they're trying to get settled. But give them a couple of months to get settled in, and then see if I can get them on.
All right, excellent. Well, that's going to do it from East West Audio Body Shop for this week, and we'll be back next week. We're on a roll here this week.
Yeah, and Skype is getting tired, so I better let you go, Dan. It's getting worse and worse.
I can see my iMac is starting to melt down.
It's going. You're starting to go. Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, that's not good. All right. Anyway, thanks for being with us. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. We'll see you next Sunday. Have yourself a great week, guys.
Good night, everybody.